How can I how can I talk about moving abroad when the world is on fire? I've had this thought running through my head for the longest time. And for me, it's also like, you know, it's a shit show right now. How can I move? And then immediately I'm conflicted because my other thought is, it's a shit show. Why shouldn't you move? Like, you know, so many things are going bad in the world, let's say. Well, not let's say, so many things are going bad in the world currently, but it's also a good time to leave because if so many things are going bad in the world, then you should probably just live your life, right? This has been my thought a couple of times, and I've wrestled with, like that kind of like conflicting feelings of like, should I be promoting, encouraging you to move abroad, live abroad, pack up, even for 3 months, 6 months, a year, forever. But that's still packing up one part of your life and moving it across the, just across several seas, probably, to move to France. Like, how can I be telling you to do this? I've thought about it and I still go back to the point of like, it's now is also a great time because when else are you going to do it? I think, well, let's say I don't live my life. I'm not someone who lives my life based on, the world's problems. I I don't think there is a great time or a perfect time to do anything, and I've procrastinated on enough things in my life to procrastinate on a choice that is so big and important as living abroad. And there are so many steps and so many processes that are involved that you'll never have perfect conditions. When things are so crazy, it's like, well, yeah, is it going to get any worse? It might. Let's not knock on wood. I have like, I'm sitting in front of a wooden, like my island has a wood countertop. I'm knocking on wood right now. But I'm someone who does not live my life based on the world's problems. And unfortunately, and it might be a ruthless thing to say, but unfortunately, like the world is always just going to have a bunch of problems. The world that we currently live in and have lived in my lifetime, there is always some conflict, some war, something going on somewhere in the corner of this, on the corner of this earth. And while it's actively increasing, I think it's getting really bad. But I still think you shouldn't live your life based on the world's problems. You are only one person in one corner of the world, and we have a bunch of those. Everybody is their own person, and it's great to have community, etc. But I think you should still not lose sight of your goals and your dreams, even when the world is on fire. And I have done it several times. Like, I've moved in a pandemic. My second move to France was in the middle. Yeah, it was during the pandemic in 2021. This is when France like opened up like for the last time. Like finally opened up, kind of like tentatively. I slipped right in, like, yeah, this is the moment. And I had planned to leave from before, and of course the pandemic put a pause on that because it was just impossible to move, right? I got stuck in New York in the pandemic, actually, when I had plans to travel the world I always have plans to travel the world, but I really had plans to travel the world. And I had packed up everything and started the whole travel. And my first stop was New York. And to, say hello to family and that sort of thing. And also, I like New York. New York is a great city. I spent so much time in New York, so I just wanted to like kickstart the whole world tour with New York. 4 days into my trip into New York, the world came to like a full pause. It was clear, you know, Asia was happening, was locking down for some time, in China especially. And I was like, well, like I said, I'm not going to live my life on the world's problems, and so I'm still going to live this international life that I want. And so yeah, I packed up and everything. And then yeah, like 4 days, I really don't think it was like a week. A week later, the whole world shut down, and I ended up being stuck in New York for several months. The point is, I had always planned to live internationally, and the pandemic was a setback. It was everybody's life was paused. Your life was paused until my move to France had to go on pause again as well. But that was what it was. It was a pause, and I still went and made all of the process in place. I had like up this vision board. It was word filled, but I had on my wall like post-its of what I wanted, where I want to go, and it was mission. Where was it? Mission immigration. I forget the name, but I had like a whole thing, and I was just like, I'm moving. It doesn't matter if there's a pandemic. Health is important. Safety is important, of course. I will just maintain this and I will make the move to France when it was possible. I will prepare. And that's what I did. I prepared. I researched a whole bunch of things. I researched, double checked like were there changes on the visas that I would need, what kind of jobs or opportunities are open at this time, when, like, what's the timeline for when would be best for the next move, etc. Like I researched and I prepared while I was getting, keep maintaining health and keeping safe in the pandemic. I was still preparing for my move to France because this was a life goal and I do not live my life based on the world's problems. And yeah, and then there were lots of, like, of course, complexities around vaccines or around the pandemic itself, around precautions that you had to take, things like this. Some vaccines were available in one region but not next, and there were like clashes about what would be available in Jamaica versus in France where I wanted to go. And I just had to get ready and I had to watch everything and I had to prepare. And this part of what I'm sharing with you. Like, the world is a shit show right now, but you can still prepare and you should prepare if this is what you want to do. If you want to move to France, it is still possible and it's still available to you. Even if this earth that we are on is going bonkers, even if it's going crazy, you can still prepare and live abroad. And so that's why I'm still talking about living abroad, moving to France, even though the world is on fire. I've also ended up moving, well, traveling. It was like a move to Jamaica, but yeah, well, no, I did move back to Jamaica at one point during when there was a huge um island-wide kind of like curfew that was going on, that was with the Dudus situation. I don't even remember what year that was. It was ages ago. But I was like, well, my plan was also to move back. I don't know how I'm going to move back to Jamaica. I didn't have a great time moving back to Jamaica. Reverse culture shock is real, by the way. But this had nothing to do with the fact that Jamaica was in a nationwide curfew, like military curfew. Is that what it's called? But in any case, the island was kind of like on shutdown. But I wanted to move back home for various reasons, and so I did. And you, you just have to get prepared, and you have to keep steady and keep your eye on your goal and your objective. And I'm not trying to say that, oh, I'm someone who never procrastinates and like have their life in order. I do not. I do not have. There are so many things that are not going the way that they should or the way that I want to. There are many things I've dropped the ball on, many things. So I'm not trying to say that because I'm someone who doesn't live, their life on the world's problems, I'm like somehow figured it out, or there is no struggle, or if you just keep at it, it will happen. Sometimes it won't happen the way you want, the same way it didn't happen the way I wanted when I was moving, when I got stuck in the pandemic and my plans halted for almost 2 years. It did not, yeah, it definitely did not happen the way that I wanted. And so, yeah, even when things are chaotic, you can still dream and you can still make plans for your life. And I think you should. You have to. Like, life goes on, the world keeps spinning. And I try to have that kind of like approach for things. It's just going to, life moves on with or without you. And it's just a matter of like how you're going to greet and meet life as it goes along its day. This is kind of like how I try to keep grounded in a time of chaos. And so, yeah, I think it is still totally possible to move abroad even though the world's on fire. And France itself is not on fire, relatively. It's not on fire. We're still going about our to day life. We're fortunate enough to be able to go through our day to day life. I hope wherever you are, I think you're also going through your day to day life. You might be going to work, or you have school, or maybe you've retired and you have daily activities that you want to do, etc. But I think the point I'm making is, even in these crazy times, life is still going on, and I think you can take a leaf out of life's book. Gosh, I don't know what I'm saying. But I think you can take that as inspiration, as proof and permission that you can also just continue to make choices and decisions for your life. Um, the same way I have to get up and go to work, I think it's the same way I can get up and prepare for a move to France. The same way you have to go to school, or get your kids ready for school, or go to work, or prepare for some kind of like appointment or whatever. I think it's the same way that you can still take some time out and plan for your life if you want to move to France. There's this phrase, there's this saying that in something like, in times of war, there is opportunity everywhere. Something like this, or, even in chaos, you can find opportunities. And in many times, like in war times, I think I read it somewhere. Many people who become like wealthy or rich, sometimes it happens during like war times or in times of great turbulence. Like, even take, let's go back to something that you we can both relate to. The pandemic was devastating. Craziest thing, one of the craziest things I've experienced so far. And yet, there was so much prosperity that bloomed from from the pandemic, from the chaos, from the turbulence, from the pause that we had to put on our lives. There were so many different types of like businesses that popped up. Different entrepreneurs pivoted and created things to adapt to the times. Content creation became a new thing, like a new phenomenon and a new movement, and the way in which it occurred, like shifted. So many things, so many great things happened because of the pandemic and despite the pandemic. And that is what I think I'm trying to say is that even in chaos there is points of opportunity. And so, you know, move abroad. Come move to France. Come see me. Come see me. But it's possible, right? I don't know what else I'm saying today. I had this on my mind and I think I needed to get it off my chest a little bit. And I'm taking this moment to verbally process the conflicting feelings that I have around telling you that it's okay to move to France, that, you should still consider it if this is what you want to do. There is room for you. There is space for you to do this. You can still give yourself permission to do this. I think this is what I've arrived at. How do you feel about the way the world's working currently, and how do you feel about, living your life and still taking risks and striving for your dreams and working towards your objectives in a turbulent time? Like, how do you feel about moving to France or another country if you are, or traveling, solo traveling, going on vacation, things like this? How do you feel about it in this chaotic time? Do you have conflicted feelings? Are you okay with it? Like, what's going on? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're still wondering if moving abroad, if moving to France is, right for you in this time, I think one thing you can do is to try solo traveling if you can, like slow travel to France in this time to see if this is still something that you want to do. If you're able to take, depending on your vacation, if you're able to take a month off, then come to France for a month to test if it's still something that you want. Is the environment in France still, what you imagined? Because everybody's impacted by what's been happening all the, throughout across the world. We're all impacted by it, France too. And so I think if you're wondering if France is still a place, then take a trip. Take a trip to see if, like you're still on the path of what you want. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to solo travel. It's one of the best gifts you can give yourself. I actually have a video about this. Um, so you can check it next where I really explain more about this. But I do highly suggest that if you're still considering moving to France, but you're having conflicting feelings about how to do this in such chaotic times that we're in, then consider taking a solo trip to France to see if the way things are is still matching and meeting your standards and criteria of things of how you would want to live. And I think you'll be surprised by the answer that you get. And I'm pretty sure that you will figure out what your next move is in these chaotic times. That's it for today. So check my video where I talk about how you can do this. And I'll see you next time. Ciao.